Now. Hello, welcome to Ed Exchange. I'm your host, Shelby Denman, and this is our first episode of our new bi-weekly podcast to help serve our teachers. Here we're going to have pre-recorded webinars that are housed as conversations to discuss ideas in teaching, learning, and education. And so we're excited to start today, and we're excited that you have chosen to join us. Today we're going to be talking about addressing teacher stress and anxiety. And so we have a special host here with us who is...
Hi, I'm Kyla Albright, and I'm the school counselor at Crosby Elementary and Forney ISD.
All right, and we're going to get started here today. So again, thank you for joining us, and we're going to talk about stress and anxiety. Today we're going to go over some facts and statistics. Then we're going to talk about how stress and anxiety actually manifest themselves so that you can notice some of those triggers. And then we're going to look at what are some common sources of stress and anxiety with teachers, and then what are some solutions to those so that you can leave feeling empowered to take control of some of the stress that you might be experiencing in your life. So we're going to start here with facts and statistics. So one recent study by the American Federation of Teachers, they surveyed a random sample of 830 of their members. They said that teachers feel stressed. Those surveys expressed that they felt stressed 61% of the time, with 1/4 of those surveys saying they always felt stressed. This is up from workers in the general population typically express that they feel stressed 30% of the time. 85% of teachers surveyed through the Career and Development Institution in a survey in February 2018 said that they reported their work-life imbalance was affecting their ability to teach. So if you feel like your work-life imbalance is out of commission, then you're not alone. 85% of teachers said that they felt like that really impacts the work that they do in the classroom. A recent study revealed that 58% of educators characterized their mental health as not good for at least a week out of the last month, which is up 24% from just 2015. So teachers are feeling more stressed in the recent years. And I would note that most of these surveys that we looked at and some of the research that we pulled were done prior to the pandemic. And so these levels of teacher stress were high, but that was before the stress of the pandemic that we're currently going through and the adjustments that we're currently making. As a result of some of this stress and other factors, about 1/3 of all teachers leave education within the first 5 years of their career. And the rate at which teachers leave the profession is significantly higher than the departure rate in other professions. And so it does have a significant impact on the work that we do. And I say all of those depressing statistics just to say that it's not just you. If you are feeling stressed and anxious and feel like the job that you have to do is a lot, it's because that it is. And so we want to share those statistics so that you feel like you're not alone in that. It is a tough job that we have, but it's such an important and vital job. And keeping teachers with experience in the profession is really important for the success of our students. And so we want to look at what are some things that you can do to help some of those. And so for here, Kyla's going to take it over with some manifestations of stress and anxiety.
Perfect. Thank you, Shelby. Okay, so I want to start with the difference between stress and anxiety. So stress is going to be the body's way of responding to any kind of demand or threat. And then this is going to kick your body into that fight, flight, or freeze reaction. Whereas anxiety is going to be your feelings of worry or nervousness when you're feeling uneasy about something that you're not sure what the outcome will be. People with anxiety usually have these recurring thoughts or concerns. And there was a study done in March by Castle, who is the Collaborative for Social, Emotional, and Academic Learning. And they found that when they surveyed teachers in just 3 days, 5,000 US teachers responded. And the most mentioned feelings that they had were anxiousness, stressfulness, they were fearful, they were worried. So all of us during this time are feeling these things, and we need to know some different strategies to use in order to help us and how we can get through these tough times. So stress and anxiety can manifest in several ways. Feeling restless, you can have some fatigue where you're super tired and you don't understand why. Some difficulty concentrating, your sleep is out of whack, you just have a really hard time going to sleep or staying asleep. You have an increased heart rate, and then your breathing will increase rapidly.
Hey, and I'll add there, Kyla, whenever we were putting together some of the materials for this, Kyla brought up some of these and I thought, oh, I think I'm stressed sometimes. I didn't even realize that I was experiencing stress until I was able to see some of the ways that it manifests itself and think, oh, there's a reason I'm feeling that way. And so I think that's important. Good information.
You're right, Shelby. And one more thing is, whenever you have that self-awareness of what's actually going on and you can name it. So if I'm naming that I'm stressed, I have more an ability to tame that than I would if I'm just not sure what's happening to me. So if you're able to name that you're stressed or name that you're anxious, you're going to be able to tame those emotions a lot better. All right, so next we're going to go into the sources and solutions for those different things for both stress and anxiety. So the first one is secondary traumatic stress, also known as STS. And so this is the emotional stress that results when you hear firsthand trauma from a student or from someone in your neighborhood or in your community. So this could be any trauma, including death, abuse, neglect, or any family dysfunction. In a school setting, of course, we're exposed to trauma more often than not. And even when we haven't endured the trauma ourselves, we can start exhibiting those behaviors or those things that the students are exhibiting based on their trauma. The emotional and physical toll can be mild, but most often for us educators, it's severe. And some of these symptoms include withdrawal, anxiety, depression, and then of course, chronic fatigue. So what was once referred to as a stressful teacher or an educator having a bad day has evolved into, now we realize that these teachers are experiencing the secondary traumatic stress because of those experiences in the classroom. The next one is work-life balance. So we know that 85% of teachers, like Shelby had said, reported that a work-life imbalance was affecting their ability to teach. And that's a huge number, and it's something that really needs to be brought to the forefront. Work can easily bleed into our home life, and even so now with this era of virtual education. So when things are not balanced, it can create tension in your family, with your relationships, and then affect your overall mental health. Another source is loss or lack of control. Unfortunately, of course, we're living in a time of uncertainty, and the lack of control that we feel can attribute to our increased levels of stress and then this manifestation of anxiety. So we have to remind ourselves that we are in control of certain things, and those are the things that we can change. We can spend hours, countless hours thinking, okay, well, what we could have done was this, or what the district should have done was this. But unfortunately, we can't change the past. We can only look forward to the future. And so we need to remind ourselves what we can control and go forward from there. Some solutions that we have, I like to look at it first with structural solutions. So setting boundaries, delegating, and assigning a lifeline. So when you look at setting boundaries, you have to remind yourself that you have a timeline. There's so many hours in a day, and you need to try and organize your day accordingly. So maybe try arriving at school a little early so that you can have some quiet, productive time by yourself in your classroom, or setting yourself a goal for what time you're going to leave on most school days. And then when that time arrives, if your goal is 5 o'clock, leave your work at work and go enjoy your home life. Another thing is on Fridays, try to fully prepare for the next week so that on Friday when you leave, your weekend is for your family time or for your own personal enjoyment, and not having to worry about Monday morning and what are you going to be planning for.
And I'll say, Kyla, when I started doing some of those things, I know early in my career, I did not set that kind of boundaries. For me, it took having kids to make myself set those boundaries, but it significantly reduced the amount of stress. I wasn't working every day of the week, and it made a huge difference in my career, and I've seen that with other teachers as well. So that's a great point.
I agree. I think overall it will make you enjoy your career even more. For delegating, just think about sharing your workload. So if you have a team, plan together. Don't overcommit yourself with extracurricular activities. I know that as educators, we like to do above and beyond, but you have to remind yourself that you can't always do everything. So make sure that you are thinking about that extra stuff and making sure that you have time for it if you truly do want to commit to it. And then lastly, assign a family member or a friend as your lifeline. So this is going to be your accountability partner that when you have a rough day, you can call them and you can talk through some things that happen and just get it off of your chest. This person can also be the one that helps keep you accountable with those time frames that you've set. Hey, it's 5 o'clock. You haven't left work yet. You said you were leaving today at 4. So just so that you can have that person to help back you up with. All right, and then the next set of solutions are self-care solutions. And so these are pretty simple, but they are very powerful. So gratitude is something that when you focus on gratitude, it will impact your overall mental health, your physical health, and your emotional well-being. So if you start each day or each morning thinking about 3 to 5 things that you are grateful for and why you are grateful for them, it helps your mindset for the remaining hours of the day. The next thing is breathing and mindfulness. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, if you would just take a minute for yourself and you would do some deep breathing. So focusing on controlled inhales and controlled exhales, and using your nose for the inhaling and your mouth for the exhaling, you will be amazed at the calmness that will come over you. For mindfulness, some great things to do is to take a few minutes outdoors where you can notice simple things like smells, colors, the temperature outside, and just not think about the things that are inside with work related, and just think about things that are outside and taking time for yourself to have that mindfulness moment. And then of course,
I'll say with the breathing, we see that with kids all the time who are dysregulated at school. And if we can help them start to breathe, it's like an immediate change you see in these outward emotions that are sometimes seem out of control, all of a sudden seem to get in control. And I think as adults, our dysregulated emotions are not demonstrating themselves outwardly normally, but that same breathing still helps to calm. My watch has been telling myself to breathe recently, occasionally, and it makes a huge difference.
It does. And there's so many good breathing techniques out there that you guys can look at. One of my favorite ones for adults and children, but adults, is box breathing. And so for box breathing, you hold for 4. So 2, 3, 4, and then inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. You would exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. But you can look at those different types of breathing activities and find which ones you like the best. And just when you're on your own time, take care of yourself by doing those deep breathing exercises.
Okay, I want to leave us with this launch. It says you can't control what is happening. We can't control what is happening to us and around us, but we can control how we respond to it. That's not a direct quote. That's why it says someone insightful. So that's where that came from someone insightful. But really, the truth is, we want to be in control of things, but we can't always be in control. And so what I can control is how I respond to what's going on around me. And that's where we are going to find our most powerful response. The work that you have as educators is vitally important to our society. It's vitally important to the lives of the kids and the families that we serve. And so helping yourself to get to a place where that stress and anxiety is not overwhelming you is paramount. And so I hope that the information that we've shared today is information that is useful for you. Our next webinar, free webinar, is on Monday, September 7th is when that'll be released. These will be released on our YouTube channel. If you have signed up to subscribe to these webinars, they'll be emailed directly to you as they're released. Feel free to invite any of your educator friends. We want to impact as many people as possible. The focus of the next webinar is making the most of your time. So sometimes that work-life imbalance or getting it all done, you can't seem to get it all done. And we're going to talk about how can we use some tips for making the most out of the time that we have each day, and what can we do to be the most effective so that our tasks aren't consuming all of our time. So if you're interested in that, know somebody that would be, please invite them to our next webinar and sign up. In the comments, we'll have a section for you to be able to sign up to subscribe to our webinars. Thank you again for joining us today. This is our first webinar on the Ed Exchange, and we really hope that it has been a positive impact for you and that you are going to go forth from here and make a great impact on the kids you have in your class this year. Thanks.
Thanks for having me, Shelby.